on how to do a flood model with ArcGis, this ArcMap. So I'm going to take you through a process of doing flood simulation model. So you need to have a raster and vector file. A raster is probably the DEM file that you're going to use, and you also need to have a vector file just to show the boundary that you've extracted the raster file. Now this simulation is done in ArcScene. ArcScene is the 3D model for ArcGis or ArcMap. So whatever you're seeing here is a flood simulation of a terrain model that was used to do hydrological analysis, to just see on how the spread of water to the extent of low areas affecting households living across the low area regions. So to do this, you're going to have you need to install ArcGis and ArcScene. So once you have your layers on ArcGis, these are the layers that you're going to import to your ArcScene desktop. I'm just going to remove these layers so that you definitely we go through this stepwise procedure. So I'm going to add my raster and layer and vector layers on ArcScene. So I'm going to pick my boundary, and I'll also pick my terrain or digital elevation model that I'm going to just overlay with this shapefile so that we can produce an animation for floods. And when you're adding these layers, you need to make sure that the layers are in the same projection. So we need to switch the vector layer and assign it a symbol of blue. So we assign this a symbol of blue and switch these switch these to so that the layer we want to use is below the DEM file. So once you're here, you right click on your digital elevation model, you go to properties, assign it floating on custom surface, and then give it a factor to convert layer elevation values to scene units. So I'm gonna assign this 0.001, and I'll also assign this 0.0001. Apply. And hit on OK. So once you're here, you can be able to look at the elevation and assign it the Z values. These are what we call extrusion values. So we can decide to put a custom of 0.6 and see how this displays. So we put 0.1. Hit on OK. Then we can change our color ramp. So so that we can be able to see the high and low areas really well. Once you have styled your 3D, what you need to do is now animate and see how we're going to simulate floods if at all we're to evacuate people living in low areas and just push them to high areas. So what you can see is the 3D elevation model. This is what we're going to use to simulate floods and see the most hit areas by floods and the less hit areas by floods. So you can see we have a range of 34 to 836. These are our Z values. So what you need to do is create an animation in the animation manager. So when you hit on these, we're going to create an animation. The animation is going to be based on our layer. So we're going to create, the type is going to be our layer, and we're going to use our source object as the boundary, and we click on a new to create a layer keyframe. So we can create as many layer keyframes as we want. So I've decided to pick on 3. These are like I have 4 keyframes, so I'm going to update the Z values because my range is from -34 to 836. What I'm going to do here is just simulate some few values that we're going to use. Second 0.0. I can also assign the 0.00 0.015. So we can decide to go with 3 keyframes, but you can create more if at all you want to. And then we're going to update. After updating this, we close. Then when you hit on animation, if you don't see your animation, this is where you find it. When you right click on an empty space, we have the animation. So you click on animation and check it, the box will pop up. So once you're here, you click on the animation. We're going to give it a duration of 10 seconds, and then we're going to loop it forward and reverse. Hit on play, and this is our simulation. You can see the rising of floods, and this is what is used by hydrological analysis guys. The experts here use these models to predict on eviction and also mitigating measures of people living in low-lying areas that are hit by floods. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos on how you can do 3D models. And this is just a very good way of looking at flood hit areas, and you can do on the fly just to see how the whole scene is displayed. So this is just a demo on how you can simulate floods using 3D in ArcScene, and probably make a model. You can decide to export the model by hitting on the recording tab. Once the recording is done, you are able now to export the model and hand it over for